arrived at the mouth of the side canyon on the fourth day. The fifth day was spent speaking with an elder of a small village that sat about 11 miles east of the canyon entrance. That village's name has been removed from every map printed after 1912, but its ruins are still visible from the air, and the descendants of its residents live today at Zia and at San Felipe, and know precisely where it was and why it was left. Through a Spanish-speaking interpreter, the elder, whose name in the log is rendered only as an initial, told Colwell that the geologists must not go into the side canyon. He told them the openings in the wall were not caves. He told them the openings had been sealed by his people's ancestors when those ancestors first arrived in the country, and that the seals had been placed there because what was behind the openings was not meant to be let out, and that his people had inherited the duty of maintaining the seals from a people who had come before, and who had themselves inherited the duty from a people older still. Colwell wrote a partial transcript of the conversation in his field book. That transcript survives because the field book was not with the men when they entered the canyon. It had been left at base camp along with a photographic plate, a bag of tobacco, and a letter to Colwell's wife that was never mailed because there was no one left to mail it. Colwell's handwriting deteriorated when he wrote quickly, and he was writing quickly because the interpreter was struggling to keep pace with the elder. Still, the substance is clear enough. The elder said there were doors in the canyon wall, made of a black metal that did not rust, and had been placed there in a time when the sky was a different color. His people, meaning the ancestral Puebloans, meaning the culture we call Anasazi, had not made the doors. They had found them. They had inherited them, and they had learned, through experience paid for in lives, that the doors must not be opened. The three geologists did not believe him. Colwell noted in the field book that the elder appeared sincere and had refused any payment offered for guiding them to the site, and interpreted the refusal as evidence of superstition rather than of genuine fear for the geologists' lives. They thanked the elder, gave him tobacco, and rode west on the morning of the sixth day, following a trail described in enough detail by the ethnologist's report for any competent surveyor to locate. They entered the side canyon around midday. Ashworth's note in the recovered saddlebag begins here. It says the canyon walls narrowed sharply about 2 miles in from the mouth, and the floor rose in a series of natural sandstone benches, each about 6 feet higher than the last. At the fourth bench they saw the first door. Ashworth's description is precise. The door was set into the vertical face of a cliff about 40 feet above the canyon floor, reached by a series of hand and foot holes cut into the sandstone, of the kind that appear at nearly every ancestral pueblo and cliff site in the region, and which archaeology now understands as ordinary Puebloan construction. But the door itself was not ordinary. Rectangular, approximately 6.5 feet tall by 3 feet wide, it was made of what Ashworth described as a dark iron of a quality he had never seen before. No rust, no pitting. Its surface was smooth to the touch, and slightly warm even though the cliff face was in shadow. The door had a single handle set into it at a height Ashworth measured with his sextant at 7 feet 4 inches from the base, meaning the handle sat about a foot above the top of Ashworth's own head, and Ashworth was a tall man for his era. There was no visible hinge, no visible lock. The door was framed by a groove cut into the sandstone that ran perfectly straight along all 4 sides, and the groove was filled with a substance Ashworth described as a black glass, hard as flint, unbroken along its entire length. Above the door, cut into the sandstone in a band about 18 inches wide, ran the inscription the elder had begged them not to translate. Ashworth copied it onto the back of his note. That copy is what makes the note historically important, and it is also what makes it difficult to discuss, because the script in which the inscription is written does not match any known writing system of the pre-Columbian Americas. It does not match Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs, or any of the proposed Old World scripts fringe writers have tried to identify at other American sites. It is its own thing. and the small number of philologists shown the copy in the 20th century, quietly and off the record, have said the closest structural parallel they can identify is a set of characters that appear on a handful of objects recovered from sites in Central Asia, in the region that appears on early modern European maps under the name Grand Tartary. The name Tartaria appears on European maps from roughly the 1500s through the 1700s, designating a vast area covering most of what is now Central and Northern Asia, from the Volga east to the Pacific, and from the Arctic Ocean south to the northern edge of the Chinese sphere. On those maps it is not a wilderness or a blank space. It is an inhabited empire, sometimes divided into Grand Tartary, Chinese Tartary, Independent Tartary, and Muscovite Tartary, shown with cities, roads, rivers, and a general population that European cartographers of the period appear to have taken entirely for granted. By the middle of the 19th century, Tartaria had disappeared from serious cartographic use. Its land was reassigned to the Russian Empire, to China, and to a handful of smaller khanates and emirates that were themselves being absorbed. Populations shown on the old maps did not migrate, and did not, according to any coherent historical account, die. They were simply relabeled, and the empire that had appeared on European charts for 3 centuries was retroactively